Hello everyone, welcome. In this video, we'll go through some of the networking concepts within Azure. What I'll do, I'll just gonna follow the Azure documentation as closely as possible to do this work. And as a matter of fact, if you can search for a Quickstart create a virtual network, you will come to this page, and I'll give this link for you in our video as well. Just copy that one, put it in here. So in this first one, we're gonna create a virtual network using the Azure portal. Okay, and all you need is Azure account. If you don't have, you can create one for free, and then just get started. So we'll go and we'll create a resource. Everything that within Azure, there a type of resource. So we'll create a virtual network resource. Okay, so let's get started with the portal. So let's go to the portal.azure.com. okay, so once you're in, if I'm logged in, so it's just log me in. If you're not, you'll have to go through the username password thing. So just search for the virtual network, and that's what I do all the time. Although Microsoft may say go here, go to all services, and then go through your networking and then virtual network. You can route that way as well, but it's so easy to search here. I almost never use this path. I always search it over here to get to what I want to get to. All right, so once I'm here, it's really easy to create a network. And here you have the create virtual network, right? So all you need to do is like add. If you click add, and this experience is very similar to anything you deploy within Azure, and here is your create virtual network. So here all you need to do is select a resource group and a name for your virtual network, and you need to choose a region where you want to this virtual network to deploy. So let's go back, subscription, resource group, and they're asking that use my resource group. Let's stick to this resource group name. I don't think I have that particular name in my subscription at the moment. So my resource group, okay, instance detail. Let's see if they have given us. They're saying just use my virtual network, so let's stick to that one as well. And for region, they're asking us to use East US. A couple of days back I had trouble with East US, so I'm just going to use East US too. And for the IP address, we're going to use 10.100.16. that's going to be my space. So let's click on the IP address, and 10.100.16 is chosen by default. And if you look at it, we also have a default subnet where we're taking a slice from this 65,000 almost IP addresses, and we are only taking about 255 addresses and putting them in a default subnet. Okay, and let's see, select subnet and then enter my virtual subnet for subnet name. So what we need to do, we want to change this. So let's click on the default. Let's change the name to my virtual subnet, and it says name must begin with letter number. With the where's the problem? I think, okay, there's a space maybe at the end. Yeah, so there we go. So we got it. So let's see, 10.100.24 is what we wanted. 10.100.24 is what we have, and now we can create the virtual network. All right, so that's all we need. Okay, they didn't go for the security, so let's go for security. Here we have options for bastion host, Dds Protection, standard, and a firewall. Okay, we will come back to these configurations later. If it's a bastion host, right now I don't think you can directly connect. Sorry about the noise. So we'll come back, and if you look at the bastion host, the bastion service is new fully platform managed PaaS service that you provision inside your virtual network. So it's a platform as a service. It provides secure and seamless RDP SSH connectivity to your virtual machines directly in the Azure portal over SSL when you connect via Azure Bastion. Your virtual machine do not need a public IP address. So we'll come back and look at that one. DDoS protection by default it's disable, and DDoS protection is a paid service. So if you enable this, you'll end up paying for this service. But it offers enhanced DDoS mitigation capabilities via adaptive tuning, attack notification, and telemetry to protect against the impacts of a DDoS attack for all protected resources within the virtual network. Now, basic DDoS protection is integrated into the Azure platform by default at no additional cost. So, although it's disabled, you are still getting the basic DDoS protection. The standard is disable here, not the basic. So basic is always on by default. And firewall, it's right now we don't need to create it. A firewall is a managed cloud-based network security service that protects your Azure virtual networks, and we'll look at firewall at a later video. But for the virtual network, that's all I needed. You can always create tags, and let's say let's call them Quickstart. Okay, name and value is say subnet. So that's what we're working on, right? So that's how I want to identify this particular resource. So I just added those, which is extra than what we have in this particular Quickstart page. And I'm just gonna hit create, and it will go to the validation. It says validation passed. Hit create, and it should create the virtual machine or the virtual network. And this one doesn't take very long at all. So it will probably take just 30 seconds or less probably to get this done for us. You can watch the deployment progress, and you see this black square dots, they're moving, and here you see this was also moving. You can click over here or here, and this blue dot and the green tick mark says your deployment is complete, and here it says deployment succeeded. So let's click one of these blue buttons to go to our virtual network, and here is our virtual network. And anytime after the deployment you go to the virtual network, you usually land on that overview blade, and that's pretty standard for any Azure resources. And you can look at the most prominent information or quick information. Resource group is the my resource group, location is TOS, subscription is my subscription, ID, and tags that we added. That's the address space we have chosen, and DNS servers, Azure provided DNS service. Okay, so that's all we have. That's how we have accomplished. There shouldn't be any connected devices, and address space, it will still say this. Okay, subnets, we have created one. Interesting that it didn't change the name of it. Probably we forgot to save that one, so that's okay, that's not a big deal. So if you want, you can add the subnet at a later time as well. So if you want to, you can click on it, and if you want to add the name for the subnet, where is it, what name did we want? Enter my virtual network. So let's learn how to do that. So click on the name. So I think what we did, we never clicked on the OK button when we first created. Okay, so my network, and we're just gonna create another subnet right there. Everything else you don't need to worry about it, just hit OK, and that should add the other network. As you see, it says successfully added a subnet, and it will take a little bit of time to show up in here. If it does not show up automatically, feel free to hit the refresh button, and there we go. So we have the virtual network. So only difference is here my default network has a subnet IP address that that this lab wanted to use for the my virtual network. Okay, you can also fix that if you like, and the way to do it would be go over here and change that one to say 3. Okay, and let's see if it lets us to say, no, it's not letting us to save that one at all. So the only thing is telling us that no, it will let us to save. So let's save this one. So we updated this IP address. Okay, the subnet IP address. So now we can this address. So now we can do the same thing for this one, just to match with your lab, and use 10100 for my virtual network, and just again save, so that way we are apple to apple with the lab. All right, so we are now here. So now my virtual network got 10.1.0.0.24. If you go back, they wanted to use 10.1.0.0.24 for the subnet address for my virtual network. All right, at this time, if you're gonna get rid of this default excuse me, you can get rid of that one as well, because we're not going to use that one. So you have learned a whole bunch of things: how to create a subnet at the time of the deployment of a virtual network, how to create the subnet at a later time, and how to change and update the address space once it's created. Okay. All right, next thing, they're asking us to create a virtual machine. Okay, so it looks like we need to deploy a 2019 data center. We're going to deploy in the same resource group, and we're going to use, they're using EastUS, we're going to use EastUS2. Availability we don't care about, looks like, and we're going to use standard DS1v2, and we are going to allow port 80 and port 3389. And disk, we are not doing anything. Virtual machine disk, skip defaults, go to the network, and the network we are going to default to my virtual network, and we're going to create the IP address. We're going to stick to the basic network interface card. Public inbound ports allow selected ports, and we select inbound ports. Default is HTTP and RDP, and management default. I'm just taking a look at what's kind of deployment they want, and create a storage account and name my storage accounts. Okay, so all right, standard, and it's a locally redundant replication we're going to choose, and then we're going to choose another VM. So let's just go ahead and create the first VM. So the way you do the creation of the VMs, again, you can choose over here, just call it virtual machine, what I do, and click on this. It will give you this blade again. This experience is very same, and just click virtual machines. That's what you want to create. And again, here we're not going to create a new resource group. I already created my resource group that we're going to reuse, and if you look at that, once we created that, by default is choosing the EastUS2 as the default region. You can change it, but it will choose that one as the default default region. Let's see if they're specifying the name for the virtual machine. So let's go up. Name is my VM1. This is what they're using. So let's use that naming convention. Okay, no infrastructure here. We need Windows 2009 data center, Azure spot size, DS1v3 is fine. I'm gonna use student and a password. And confirm my password. Okay, inbound port rules, allowed selected ports. Here we're gonna choose 80 and 3389. So 80 is gonna serve our web server, and 3389 is gonna be used for the RDP connection to get into the machine with the RDP client. All right. And then licensing, no. Disk, we are not going to change, we're going to use the default options. Okay, let's go to networking, and networking, look at the my virtual network is already been selected because this is the only subnet that's available to us. That's the only virtual network available to us within this particular resource group. Subnet that's the only subnet available, so it's defaulted to that one. My VM-1 IP is probably okay. Let's go to that my VM this IP. Look, see, then basic NIC security group is fine. Public inbound ports allow selected ports. It's already, look, since we have already said that we want the 80 and 3389 needs to be open, it's still been selected there. Accelerated networking and load balancing, they are turned off, and I think we are okay with that. Management, we don't need to do anything. And then we move to advanced, we don't need to do anything. Tags, again, you can do Quickstart, and this time this is a Quickstart VM, so I'll just call VM1 or just VM. Okay, it's a virtual machine. So, and then review and create. Okay, so that will again go through the validation, and when the validation passed, we'll just hit create button. Validation failed, so let's look at what has failed. Okay, diagnostic storage, we forgot to create a storage account, so let's create that one. And name, they are suggesting something in here for the name, as far as I remember. Yeah, my storage account, and this name is most likely taken. Okay, that name has to be unique inside Azure, so that as we expected. So just call 432, and now it's available. And v1 is not what we want to use. We want to use, oh, it says v1. Okay, so let's keep on use the v1. And performance standard and LRS, so I'll just stick to that. All right, so just say yes. So here everything looks good, and then again review and create, and it should go to the validation now. Validation has been passed, so click on create. So we have completed up to this portion of this tutorial or quick start, and now we are ready to create a second virtual machine, and repeat the procedure to create another virtual machine. For this virtual machine name, enter my VM2. That's the only difference. Okay, for the diagnostic account, make sure you select my storage account instead of creating one. So they're saying create another one, but for the diagnostic use the same storage account that you have already created. Excuse me. So while the deployment is going on, we don't have to wait, so we can again look for virtual machine. Now look at that here. Once I clicked on it, it's already telling me recent services, so I don't even have to click anything and search for the virtual machine. It's already available there. I'm just going to click on it, and again I'll just do virtual machine, and everything should show up. Again, my resource group name is gonna be this. It's just my VM2 instead of VM1. I'm gonna choose 2019. This is fine. I'm gonna use my same username and password. Okay, and then inbound port rules, again we're going to choose both 80 and 3389. Okay, and then disk, we're not making any changes. Networking, we are, again it's the same one virtual network available, same subnet. It's going to create a new public IP for us. These are same inbound port rules, still 80 and 3389, so we don't need any more thing in here. Now over here, this is the storage account, so I'm not creating a new storage account, so this is good, and we are not making any other changes. Go to advanced, no changes. Go to tags, you can do the same thing. Quick start, and this time we're going to choose VM. This is another VM, and then review and create. Excuse me. Yeah, validation has passed. Okay, so alright, looks like we have deployed the first virtual machine nicely, and we did the same thing with the second virtual machine. So if once I'm inside this resource group, both I can see both the virtual machine 1 and virtual machine 2, both are deployed within this particular resource group, which is my resource group, and it's in the West US2 region. And you can look at the location where it's deployed. We have deployed everything in the East US2, and you can also do by type, and it will so one disk associated with one of the virtual machine, other disk for the other virtual machine, one interface with the one, other interface with the another one. Is the network security group with the VM1, network security group with the VM2, So everything looks very nice and beautiful. So let's go back over here. So our next task is to connect to a virtual machine from the internet. So we can now do RDP connection to these files, and let's see what they're asking us to do. And then they're asking let's check the communication between the VMs. Let's see, RDP files, okay, certificate warning, and all we need to do is ping my VM2, and look at that, it says connection timeout. So what will happen once when you try to ping, by default the ping uses the ICMP protocol, okay, and that is by default isn't allowed through Windows Firewall. So you have to do something to to add or disable that rule, okay, and the way to do it is run this PowerShell command where you're gonna do a new net firewall rule, display name allow ICMP v4 in protocol ICMP v4, okay, and once you do that, then if you do the ping, it should now be able to talk to each other. So let's do this, okay. So I'm using a Ubuntu laptop, so let's just first try to use one of the RDP client that I have, Reminia. That should be okay enough for our purposes. So let's go back over here and let's take a look. I'm just gonna get the IP address for the VM1. Alright, so that's IP address, copy to clipboard, come back to my Remna, I'm just paste it here, hit enter, and it should ask for certificate details. Yeah, I'm gonna accept it. I'm gonna provide my username and password. Oh, I don't know. And then hit OK. And it should log me in inside this particular virtual machine, which is at 40.75.11.76. Okay. And while it's running, I can open another instance of Remna. Let's see. I'm just gonna open it from here, new window. Did I get a new window? Maybe I can just put it here. Let's go back to our resource group and get the IP address of the next one, and that's this. So we'll come back over here, put it here, and then hit to connect. So I have, okay, so I have one running here, another it's gonna be here. So student and password again. Alright, so that's all I need. Okay, and it should log me in to this one. So I have two virtual machines, 40.75.11.76 and 40.75.66.207. So we have both. So discover the network, I'm just gonna say yes here, and this one say yes here as well. So we are inside Azure virtual machine. So in this virtual machine, let's expand this window just a bit. So from here, I'm just gonna open up my CMD. That's my command prompt. Let's open that one, and from here, if I do ping, this is my VM1. So if I ping myself, we should not have any problem, right? So we are getting something most weird that's replying with IPv6 address for whatever reason. Okay, so now if I try to ping the other virtual machine, which is actually, let me just ping 40.75.11.76. so that's the IP address I know that we have given to my own IP address, and look at that, even I cannot ping my own IP address. That's very weird. So what we want to do, we want to add our rule. Okay, so what do we need to add? So this new net firewall rule. So let's possibly do a PowerShell for this one. Okay, so the new net, let's see if it takes my tab. Net, no, it took, but it took something that I don't want. So let's go back. It's a little slow, so just give me a minute. Let's see, come on. Yeah, it's taking a little bit of time over here. So while this is doing, let's come back over here maybe and open the parcel. Just be smart. Alright, so here, let's open it. I think this is good. And new, this time I'm just gonna try to look at the command more carefully. Net firewall rule, new net firewall rule, and now I hit enter. At this point it should pick. Yeah, it did. Okay, good. So now display name, allow ICMP for in, so dash this, and I hit enter. Display name, look at that. And we do allow ICMP v4, allow ICMP v4 dash in. Okay, that's good. And protocol ICMP v4 dash protocol and ICMP v4. There we go. So let's hit enter. So what it did on this machine 4075.66.207, I enabled ICMP protocol. So now if I ping myself in this machine, so which is VM2 4075.66.207, if I ping myself, I cannot still ping me because I have only enabled ping from out or ping in. So let's come back to this machine and try to ping that IP address from here. So ping 40.75.66.207. now hit enter, and I'm expecting to see this to show up, but this is still not show up. So let's do some troubleshooting and see what is going on, if it didn't open up the port properly or not. So let's give us a second. Oh, we realized that we are trying to do something stupid here, which is we are trying to ping using the public IP address, but within the subnet it has to be the private IP address that you should be using for your ping connection, because you cannot directly come. So all of that is happening, you gotta be able to just use your private IP address for your pinging. So if you just do ping and then my VM, this is what my VM1, this is my VM1. My VM1, we have not done any rule setup, so it's saying that you cannot do anything. But if I now ping to my VM2, we have allowed the incoming ping. So look at that. So this is now saying, yeah, you can ping it, and everything looks great. Okay, so we can do the same thing on this my VM1, where we can allow the net firewall. So let's new dash net firewall, let's firewall rule, and then what was that net firewall rule? Let's go back, and it is display name allow ICMP4. Let's give me 1 second. display name, and ICMP4 is what we need. So display, tab enter, name, then ICMP v4, and then again protocol is ICMP v4, and ICMP v4 in, I think there is in somewhere, display allow ICMP v4 dash in. So here this is actually allow ICMP v4 dash in. Okay, in. Okay, so now hit enter. So now this one also we are allowing inbound ICMP connection. So now if I go to the other machine and try to do a ping to my VM1, we should get the reply back. And if you look at it, it's replying back using the private IP address, which is 10.1.0.4. so just to verify, if you go back to our virtual machine, so look at that, this one got a private IP address 10.1.0.5, and we pinged from this virtual machine to the other virtual machine, which should have an IP address of 10.1.0.4. So that's about it. That's about the lab. So in this lab, what we did, we have created a virtual network. We created a subnet within the virtual network, and we deployed 2 different virtual machines inside this virtual network, and we have tested the connection, and we have proven that inside a virtual network we can talk to each other. We didn't really use the feature where we need to install a web app. So the port 80 that we have opened, we didn't really make use of that very much. Okay, so what we'll do next video, we'll do the same thing using Azure PowerShell. Okay, so if you're watching the video, thanks for watching. If you like it, give me a thumbs up, leave your comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Happy learning Azure. Have a good day.